I've already sketched the figure with burnt umber, and now I started to establish the first layers with blocking in some main areas. I came up with the idea for this painting at the time when my energies was very low. I felt quite lost at that time. Back then, I just picked up the brush and started painting without any specific idea in my mind about the composition. It was more like I just want to paint. I was so bored and I needed to paint anything just to keep myself busy and distract my mind from all the gloomy anxiety thoughts. Since painting is the one thing that truly brings me inner peace, I didn't want to think too much about how the painting would turn out to be. All I wanted at that time was just painting, to spend time, simply just paint. It's similar to how some people meditate, retreat, or go somewhere when they're feeling down. Painting is my way of healing, my own way of meditation. After sketching and blocking in the main colors of the painting, I set it aside for a few days to let the initial layers dry a bit before adding more detailed layers. However, it turned out to be several weeks. The reason is around this time, I started becoming deeply obsessed and in love with the Impressionist style. Although I had known about this movement for a long time, only recently I found myself really upset with them. Especially I'm in love with the color palettes they use, and recently I've been practicing with brighter color palettes. I certainly felt no inspiration to continue with this painting. I wanted to paint something brighter and depict more natural light. I no longer felt motivated to continue with this painting, but I also feel very guilty to let it be incomplete. I think after all, it still captures a lot of my emotions. So that's why, after a lot of time struggling, resisting from continuing this painting, eventually one day picked up my process again and decided to make some adjustment. I decided to prioritize more on the contrast between light and dark in the painting and make some adjustment to my character face to express the sunset atmosphere as well as the mood of my character more vividly. I think because of the emotion I had at the time I started this painting, I felt the painting carried a very sad mood. Although the model, the reference that I took from, she's not actually sad, but in this painting I felt like it perfectly captured my mood. It was only after I finished the character that I began to think more detailed about the color scheme, the composition of the background, which is quite unusual for me because I usually sketch out the whole composition and think about the colors that I want to combine in the painting, the color palettes that I want to go before I start to paint. But this time it was very different. After finishing the character, I envisioned a scene of a lady that actually represent myself sitting in the afternoon twilight. To me, the most reflective and contemplative time of the day is at sunset, when the last rays of the sun cast a warm tones across the ground. It is the transformation between light and dark in the day, the time that I always feel a bit chilling, a bit more emotional. I imagine her, a version of my own soul, sitting there with a wistful gaze. It's a feeling that's hard to describe, a sense of waiting. I'm not even sure what I'm waiting for at that time. Just an endless waiting, an unending anxiety, a weary sense of waiting for change, a feeling of the infinite, the meaningless of life. I was truly feel that during that period when I lost all my inspiration for everything in my life and couldn't find meaning in anything I was doing. While working on this painting, I often step back to think about the colors, take a break, and then return with fresh eyes to see what adjustments are needed. I've also made several changes to the background compared to my initial idea. I collected this painting to get some ideas about color composition as well as learn how they depict the sunset, the twilight, the contrast between light and shadow. I found myself inspired so much by the 19th century paintings, the romanticism. I love the way they highlight and depict light so vividly and look very poetic. I realize how crucial it is to identify the light source in a painting, and I'm paying much more attention to light in my paintings than I did before, as the contrast in lighting makes a significant difference for my painting. I add several layers on the dress as I want it to lean more toward cold, which is in contrast with the warm light of the sunset in the background. So I adjust to make it look more purple and blue hue. I also increase the contrast between light and dark areas on the dress, adding highlight to the fabric where I imagine it would catch the sunset rays. Looking back, it's hard to believe that just a few months ago, my emotions as well as my art style was so different. And I realized that slowing down and spending some time to sit back and reflect on the painting was necessary, because after some time away from the painting, I will feel refreshed and have some new idea to continue working on it. I might change my original concept, but that's totally okay. As long as I'm still open to the new ideas to come to me and continue to follow my intuition, I believe that I'll be inspired by what feels right at each moment to paint. I feel that going through a phase of frustration, losing interest, feeling lost in my current art style was actually a transformative period that led me to find inspiration in a different creative direction. Finally, I can feel proud that I can embrace the sadness as well as the happiness, because all the emotions are always beautiful the way it is and deserve to be seen.